I remember being in these masterminds that I was paying way too much for, and we would visualize our big dreams. Well, I still hadn't fixed my mental and physical health, my relationships, or even my finances yet. We made a lot of revenue in my businesses, but because of me constantly trying to achieve the next big dream, I had cash flow issues while I was sitting in these masterminds. I understood the idea that we have to know what direction we're heading in order to get there. I get that, but it's really hard to set these big life goals and go after them if we don't feel good physically and mentally, or if we're in a tough relationship, or if we're drowning financially. If I don't feel good physically, nothing else matters. If my daily relationships are in turmoil, nothing else matters. If I'm in a tough mental state, nothing else matters. So I've made a list for you of goals and needs to work on in order to achieve the dream life you want. I'm gonna save the top 2 for last, and let's get into the fun stuff first. I've laid them out in chapters so you can totally skip the ones that you think you're already on top of. However, I think my real life approach to each one is helpful, and I still go through these things monthly to set my new mini goals. Let's talk about money. And later in this video, we will talk about financial goals, such as living in a beach house one day. But this section is more about financial security, because if we're not secure financially, it's really hard to drive towards the rest of our goals. You might disagree that financial security is right behind our basic needs for survival and physical health. But as someone who comes from a family who was super rich, and then we lost everything when I was 9, and then we fought for survival after moving to a new city, not knowing where we would get the next money to survive from, like that financial instability, it affects everything. I left home at 17, and then my parents started doing okay again. But I've been on my own ever since starting my first business at 17. I have made a lot of money, and then I've invested all that money in things that didn't work out over and over and over. And as an entrepreneur, there was a time during one of the recessions where I downsized my life into a tiny little apartment. I stopped eating out just to save my business. And after the pandemic happened, which was my 3rd recession in business, I decided I would never again struggle financially. And in the last 2 years, I got a strict handle on my finances. I started living way below my means and putting away money for retirement. As an entrepreneur, it can be super tough to budget because you don't know how much money you're going to make each month for the most part. So what I do is I pay my bills each month, and then I put a % aside for retirement and fun. And before, I would just buy whatever I wanted, and then I would have to struggle to make sure that I covered the rest of it, which I always did. But now with my new method, I'm making way more because I have the space to make good decisions instead of rushed, desperate decisions. And the best thing I did for my finances, it seems super simple, but I went through my bank statements and my credit card statements for my business and personally, and I just made lists of what was necessary and what was optional. And then I slashed a ton of subscriptions that I didn't need. So next is feeling good mentally. I've been in survival mode for most of my life, and my own mental health seemed like the least important thing to me as I was surviving. I was too busy to think about how I felt about anything. And I've had multiple health issues because I would push down my mental health needs, such as downtime and boundaries in relationships. I would just serve everybody. And I thought I was being a good person, but being a good person is making sure that we feel good mentally and physically so we can have all the love in the world to give to other people. So here's how I recommend setting goals for your mental health. What are all the things in your life that contribute to your mental health in a good way? Let's reward you for all the things that you're already doing right. And then what are all the things in your life that affect your mental health in a bad way? And what is one thing that you can say no to or take away? And then what is one thing you can add that makes you feel better, such as walking, meditating, tapping, more creative time? So I have to say that one thing I did the second part of this year for my mental health is I decided to start saying no to things. And I'd already said yes to way too many things. And there's other videos about me just getting completely burnt out and overwhelmed. But because of that, I realized this is really bad for my mental health. I just felt so bad, like just so bad. And so I decided to say no to all kinds of things, and I quit things that I was in. I decided not to commit to new things. Some things blew up on their own, which was pretty cool and super helpful. But what are the things that you're saying no to in order to make room for the things that help you feel better, right? Feel better mentally and physically. Next is the goal of feeling good in our relationships. So when there are misunderstandings or tough situations with loved ones, it can consume us. I have a rule. People have to be nice to me in order to be in my life. I know, not everyone has that luxury, but for me, I don't tolerate people being mean to me. And the excuse people use can be like hormones or mental health issues. But here's my thing. If they wouldn't yell at a cop because they know they might go to jail, but they're yelling at me, it's not their mental health issue that is causing them to yell at me. It's that they are not perceiving that there's going to be consequences for yelling at me, like there would be consequences if they yelled at a cop. So they're not truly in a clinically excused state. And so I just choose to never speak to them again. There's 7 billion people on Earth, and everyone around me knows my rules, and I don't get yelled at. So for me, I want everyone around me to just share my main core values. That's my litmus test. Love each other, do the right thing, and always learning and improving. And I know if the people around me share my values and we're having an issue, then we can be open and vulnerable and work on it and fix it together until it feels better. If they don't share my values, I just remove myself with as little drama as possible. Life's too short to have drama. Again, 7 billion people on this earth that we can hang out with, and I know so many nice, amazing, beautiful people. One of my missions in life is to help others get unstuck. So if you can be independent financially, it's much easier to have these boundaries in relationships. So making our goals for relationships, where do your relationships feel good and where do they feel bad? And what's one thing you can do to feel better in your relationships? It's okay to just make tiny little jumps. One of the things I've done in the past is I went through something really hard, and people around me didn't understand it. And whenever I felt uncomfortable in a conversation or I felt just bad, I would hug them. And if it was someone really close to me, I would say, I love you, I've got to go, bye. And I just started doing that because, like, as long as you don't live with each other, right? Or maybe even if you do live with each other, you can hug them and say, I love you, I got to go, bye. And then over time, people start to see, oh, in order to be around Julie, then we have to be nice and we can't be bringing up these things that make her feel bad. The next goals that we can work on are our growth and our creativity. So how do you feel about your growth and creativity? Do you have hobbies that you get so into that you forget the world exists? So I didn't know what my hobbies were until recently. I've been in building mode or survival mode my whole life, bootstrapping up from nothing. And I used to say my hobby was business, but now I realize I love mountain biking, hiking, walking in beautiful places, and I love learning. I cannot get enough learning. And I also love creating new things that help other people, which is partially why I'm doing this YouTube channel. I feel like I finally found my little place in the world. And something that's really important is I used to spend a lot of my time on social media. I mean, not a lot of it, but enough, right? On Instagram, Facebook. I got out of TikTok real fast because that just made me feel bad. And I realized that I love YouTube because YouTube is long form content that I can turn on and I can listen to while I'm doing chores or while I'm going on a walk. And Facebook and Instagram, you have to be into the scroll, and especially TikTok, you have to be into the scroll. So that's why I'm here on YouTube. I absolutely love it. And I took count of the things that I was doing in my life that were not hobbies. They weren't things that I just absolutely loved, and they weren't moving me further towards my goals, and they weren't improving my relationships, and I did my best to get rid of them. And I feel really good. Okay, let's finally talk about financial freedom, the big dreams. Oh, this is the exciting part. And once we have all these other things feeling good, or at least moving in the right direction, then we can finally work on this part. I mean, you can work on them all at once too. It's okay. You can try different things for your life. But for me, for the first time in my life, I finally feel like I'm in a position to really fly. Every other time I would write down these big goals, they just felt impossible because I was in so many other tough situations that I needed to get out of. And whenever I was in a business mastermind and we did our goal setting for years, business mastermind after business mastermind, I would just write down these financial goals, make the action steps needed to reach them, do the action steps, and then I wouldn't reach them over and over and over. I would sometimes hit the revenue goals, but my profits and personal take home would just be abysmal, probably because I was trying so many different things. But in the last 2 years, my goals focused on business improvements and freeing up my time to work in my zone of genius instead of necessarily revenue goals. And this worked really well for me. And quick note about the world of meditation and visualizing and law of attraction. I got super into it. And then all of a sudden, I find myself, I'm so extreme. I just wanted to sit on a mountaintop and meditate and not do anything but dream and journal. And it didn't last long because while it felt good for a little while, it didn't feel good for too long. I realized I love taking action and building something out of nothing. I love going for something and making it happen. But for me, the danger lies in going too extreme either way. And so my new rule for myself with my goals is it's okay for me to go for anything I want as long as it doesn't sacrifice my relationships or sacrifice my health. And that's why I'm in the business I'm in. And that's why I'm making this YouTube channel is I'm trying to figure out what in the world I like at this stage of my life because I've never thought about it, never cared about myself, to be honest. And now I do. And I'm trying to figure out what I like and what feels good. And what feels good is taking action and it's learning. It doesn't feel good to just be manifesting and visualizing and living in the vibration of things that haven't happened in my life yet because my life is great. I can feel good and feel joyful right now in my life. And my business revolves around helping people free up their time so they can be in their zone of genius. So everything is kind of coming together for me. Okay, here's your action step. So what feeling do you want to live in, like joy, peace, etc.? Because at the end of the day, whatever our dreams are, we're really hoping that it's this feeling that this dream will give us. And then how much money do you actually need to feel those feelings? And the answer is you can feel the feelings right now. There are things that will give you that joy and that peace right now. And the reason that feels so good to me is like, oh, I can have that right now. So then I can add the big dreams that are mine and mine alone. And you can add the big dreams to that are yours and yours alone. Mine is to live on a beach. And so the question is, how much money do I need to live on a beach? And truly, I can probably do it right now if I just rent out my house, but eventually I'm going to want something bigger that my whole family can enjoy. And I think $10K a month will do it. So question is, what are all the ways that I can make that amount of money? And I recommend gathering a group of friends together who are always working on improving themselves and their finances, and all of you brainstorm each one of your goals and how to get there. And I did this with my friend Steve and his friend James, and they saw so clearly how to make this happen pretty fast for me, and we saw how to make it fast for them. And one of the tricks is if you have a single goal as opposed to a dollar amount you want to make, and then you back up to the actual dollar amount instead of just having this, like, because I used to say, oh, I want to make $1 million a year. Okay, great. Like, what does that mean? I'm not as attached to it. So if you have that single goal, you would be surprised how the world works in your favor to make that goal happen, especially if you have this single thing that you're focused on that you talk to people about, and you just never know what could happen. Like one day I could be at a coffee shop sitting next to someone that owns a beach house and they might just want me to watch their dog, right? Their beach house half the year. Who knows? You never know. So my main goal for this year is to live at a beach house for at least 3 months of the year, June, July, and August. And I might rent out my house to make that happen. I might just make more money to make that happen. I do have a list of action steps that I'm going to take, and I'm super motivated about this. And we will see what works. And my other goals are to keep slowly growing my virtual assistant business. We are playing the long game. and want to be the best in the world at what we do. And I kind of talked about that earlier. And the growth we have right now is perfect for our team's mental health. It's perfect for my mental health. And my other goal is to enjoy my YouTube journey and to be more helpful on this channel, because if I'm helpful, the growth will follow. I would love to hear in the comments what your goals are. It really helped me when I was making my goals to list the things that I accomplished last year and also list the things that didn't feel good last year, so I could figure out what my goals are for this next year. And that gave me, first of all, so much clarity, but second, I was like, whoa, I got a lot done and I really moved my life forward, and that made me more motivated to keep moving forward. See how that works? And a lot of my goals that I had for this year I already accomplished before the year ended. So finally, I left this part for the end, just for those of you who are still here. And I'm going to call this final thing love goals. I don't know anything when it comes to what happens after I die. But I do know when I feel love, and I do know when I feel disconnected and awful. And I see videos of Christians who say New Age stuff is bad and New Age people who say Christian stuff is bad, and I just get so confused. And I noticed it doesn't feel good to listen to people talk bad about other people or about other groups. And the only reason I was listening is because I don't want to be ignorant. Yet I get excited about things so easily. So I was listening to both sides. And so I don't want to be ignorant, but I don't want to miss out on miracles, and I don't want to miss out on hope. And the principle that is holding true for me is try the spirits. I look for the love in every person. I ask myself if I feel the love when I listen to them. And if I feel the love and if I feel good, then I keep listening. And I want to be that person for you that feels good when you listen. I want to be a safe space on the internet. Somebody you can trust, somebody you know is just on here to share and be helpful. And of course, if I could make a living off YouTube, that would be great, but I don't need that. I don't need to. I have a business, and this is just part of my mission, and my purpose is for other people to not feel the pain that I've been through, or at least if you are feeling the pain, to help other people get out of it as I continuously get out of my pain. So love and hugs to you. I can't believe you're still here. Okay, going back to the top 2 most important goals to reach before achieving anything else. First of all, air, food, water, shelter, sleep. Most of you watching have the first 4, but do you get quality sleep? Most of the people I know don't. If you don't, that would be number 1 on my goal list to improve. Second one is feeling good physically and health. So 20 years ago, I was really overweight. I've struggled with my weight throughout my life. That's why I dedicated 20 years of my life to exercise and fitness and owning gyms. But we all know that if we don't feel good physically, if we're tired, then we end up being grumpy. If we're hurting physically, or if we just have low energy, we can get really, really depressed, and we can just not even want to get out of bed, much less work on our goals. So the first thing that I did to overcome my health issues and to lose weight was exercise, because I'm a foodie. I refuse to give up food. And so I started with that. And then I just did one habit at a time. So for example, I gave up soda and changed it to sugary iced tea, and then did less and less sugar until finally I had given up sugary drinks, and now I'm addicted to soda water. But the trick really is one habit at a time. And if you're not exercising yet, it's okay to do 10 squats and hold plank for 15 seconds to start. So the first thing to setting the goal for your physical health is, what are you already doing well? If you don't acknowledge yourself for what you're doing well already, you're not going to be motivated to improve. So if you just keep going, and you don't ever stop and say, wow, I've improved in so many ways, or I'm already doing awesome in all of these ways, you're not going to feel motivated to keep going. So you have to feel successful in order to feel motivated, which is why gratitude is so important, and it's why acknowledging the things that we're already doing is so important for achieving the big dreams that we want to achieve in life. So add one thing at a time that you know you can do. So everything else is a bonus. So it might even be a 2-minute walk a day, or 10 squats and a 15-second plank. anything that you know you can do. Drink more water, cooking at home, anything. Because if it's not something that you know you can do, you might end up just quitting and then you feel worse than before you started. I still always have one health goal that I'm working on. Right now, it's to stretch or do a little yoga every day. Also, get your physical health checkups. I'm in my mammogram season. I'm getting them every year. But getting those physical health checkups are going to save you. They might even save your life. And if you don't do it for a long time and then you do it, it causes a lot more anxiety than if you just do it every year. I am so excited to see what this year brings for us. Let me know in the comments what your goals are, or if anything resonated with you, what came up for you. I can't wait to see what we do in this next year.